Live.
Hi, Devesh. We are broadcasting live now.
That's it. I can see the little green button says live. Beautiful.
Yes, yeah. So nobody's watching us yet, so we'll have to warm it up so people will come along and have a listen to us and join in with our conversation today.
That's it. We'll see how good Facebook is at doing its algorithm of reaching out to 15,000 people in your group.
Yeah. So I won't bother introducing you just yet. Um, though I do have the little bio that you sent us, which is awesome. So how are you anyway, whether you're there in Sydney and I'm out here in Orange? So isn't this marvelous technology?
It is. It's crazy that we can, even in the last 3 years, we've come along such a long way. You can be anywhere in the world, anywhere in any city, and you can now really have the laptop lifestyle without having too many issues.
I
So what's
know,
Sydney to
it's
Orange?
awesome. Yeah, I know. And I'm not even in my house. I'm down in someone else's place where I do some of my private readings on a Wednesday. So I'm not even in my own place. So today, what we're going to have a chat about, of course, is the idea of I know that there's a lot of coaches and change makers out there that do tend to hold themselves back from putting out their big message to the world for whatever reason that is. I think each of us have individual reasons, but they probably all stem to much the same thing, feeling not good enough, looking at all the competition and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to stand out in all this? Can you think of any other reasons that we might hold ourselves back from actually releasing our
Mm.
goodness to the world out there?
Well, I'm going to just jump straight in the deep end. Is well, we hold ourselves back simply because if we had no limitations, then we would have nothing to hide behind, and we would be out there for the world to see us. And the thing that allows you to be loved and accepted the most also brings with it the greatest opportunity for you to be judged and ridiculed the
Hmm.
most as well. So the scariest thing isn't
Yeah.
often, what if I don't succeed? It's what if I actually succeed in what I'm doing and I'm actually out there in front of people and I can't really hide anymore.
That's true. When you are out in front of people, like we are right now, and everyone's looking at us right now, Devesh. And if they're not looking at us right now, they'll certainly be watching the replay because it will stay up here on the Facebook. And, people are making thoughts. Some of them might be making judgments on us right now. So, yeah, it is a big thing to put yourself out there. I'm just going to give, before we go any further, Devesh, I'm just going to let people know a little bit more about you, if that's okay.
Sure, go
Yeah, so
for it.
what Devesh does, yeah, is he helps entrepreneurs and visionary change makers in igniting their deepest passion, thriving into a profitable presence. So it's all about owning their uniqueness, having the confidence to let their life's work be a true creative expression and representation of who they truly are, and in doing so, allow a flow of wealth, freedom and fulfillment and create a life they love. So I think most of us who are in this business, in fact, I think all of us who are in this business of being a coach or in some way a change maker out there, whether you're doing healing or some other form of work, that's our aim of the game, isn't it? We want to do it, go out there, do our life's work, but also feel that we are doing what we authentically love, that we are also creating abundance for ourselves along the way. Nobody wants to do this business and be struggling financially, so that's something as well. And have freedom. I hear freedom come up a lot with people who enter this business that we are in. It's the idea of freedom, creating the life that we really want.
That's it. It's very the big F word.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's the big F word. And I just
Mm.
want to invite anyone that's having a listen to us as Devesh and I talk about this. We really are going to tap into what might be holding you back, or certainly what holds a lot of us back in this particular arena from putting ourselves out there and what we can do about it. Devesh is very much about unleashing our genius. He's very much a mindset maven, I reckon. You're right into it. And moving people in their businesses or entrepreneurs in their business, or in my case, it's always coaches who are, of course, an entrepreneur as well, moving them past all this stuff so that we can actually thrive. And that's what's behind it, thriving. So I want to invite anyone who is listening in on watching us right now, feel free to make some comments, to ask some questions. Devesh is here to answer them for you, or direct where you would like this conversation to go, because Devesh and I came on with no plans whatsoever other than just to see what comes up.
And that in itself is a plan. Yeah. The best kind of plan, just spontaneous.
Yes, it's a spontaneous one. So let's get back to that. The idea of putting ourselves out there, because I said, if you've come into this business as a coach or a change maker, even the entrepreneurial world, there's something that you want from it, yet we do hold ourselves back so often, and I do feel it comes to fear of putting ourselves, as you said, you added that one, fear of putting ourselves out there in front of everyone. In a nutshell, what can we do about it?
Well, simply put, fear comes from, there's two prongs. Number one is our old stories. It's letting the triggers of the past shoot holes through our present. That's effectively what people do. That's what we do. We let the triggers of the past shoot holes through our present. And as a result, we're not fully present here now. And as a result, we are leaking our energy. We're leaving it out in the future with what's going to happen. And we are allowing the past to define how we're showing up now. So there's one element of it is emotional mastery, is actually being able to do something that challenges and outgrows your own limitations and your own boundaries. But on the other side of it, fear comes from not knowing what to do and how to do it. It's a chemical response. If you think about it, it's not knowing what to do or how to do it. So number one is actually just getting clarity on exactly, this thing that I have to do that makes me afraid. People put such a big focus on massive action. And yes, I believe that there's a time for massive action. And then there's a time for, I'm a lazy guy. I want to make things easy. What about if I just reduce it down to the ridiculous? And, I wanted to put yourself out there. I've known people that have been in business for ages, but something as simple as doing a spontaneous Facebook Live is the scariest thing of them all.
I know. And I know one particular young man that both you and I know, who admits openly, and he's very comfortable on big camera because he used to be, actor, presenter, all that sort of stuff. And yet he admits to being scared of the small screen with the Facebook Lives, which is fascinating. So everyone, we've all got our little thing. I don't particularly like doing Facebook Lives. I avoid video as much as possible.
That's it. And I think it really is, it's a representation of, there's a difference between not enjoying doing video and feeling more authentic and, being able to express yourself in a different channel. And then there's not doing it because you are deathly afraid of it. And when it's the latter, I think it really is about pushing our own boundaries. So, you're asking, what can we do about it? Well, make it simple. How can you reduce it to ridiculous? So what about if I just do a Facebook Live for 15 seconds and I just say, hey, I'm doing this live and I'm going to make this about 20 seconds. And I just want to say that, even though I'm really comfortable with my other content, I'm afraid of doing Facebook Live. And I'm doing this because, hey, I'd rather do something than nothing. And maybe next time this will be 10 seconds longer. So if you're afraid of doing something, give yourself 20 seconds to do something that you haven't allowed yourself to do. And end it at that. Make it simple. We put this big focus that has to be perfect. How about you just be real? Because you will have 98%. I mean, fear of public speaking is the number one fear in the world now. It's bigger than the fear of death. So really, you are, by saying, hey, I'm afraid of being on video, but I'm doing it anyway, you have now become an example for like 98% of the people out there. And all it took was 20 seconds.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I find just in the Step in the Spotlight program alone, which is a group program for developing coaches and change makers who are getting their message out there for the world and how to do it. And they come into that because they have no clue about the steps of what to do to get out there and be seen and heard and make a mark and have some influence. But one of the things, because I'm not a fan of big, massive leaps. I'm not a fan of putting people big challenges and big leaps when you're just coming into this game. I think you have to move into it step by step and take smaller steps to get to where you're going. But one of the things that many of them come into that they're petrified about is doing videos and the Facebook Live. So we set a challenge that they have to do one within our small private group. So there's only 20, 30 people there to see it when they do it. And you know what? When they do that and they do it for, a couple of minutes, and then they can go out and do it on their own pages. And the more they do it, the better they get and the more they start to love it. And I find by the end of the program, I can't keep them off videos or doing the lives because they've adjusted to it. Like you said, it's the little steps at a time, take it into the ridiculous and then raise the bar each time.
That's it. Before you know it, you're trying to kick them off the camera, but they're glued onto the screen.
I know. Get off the camera. I want some.
I love it. No, it's the way with everything. I mean, the biggest thing that we don't realize, but we go through again, is the act of doing something that we've never done is actually to challenge everything that we've believed and that we've done up until this point. So if you think about the act of setting a goal is to do something you haven't done, right? So that very act is to challenge a belief system somewhere, is to challenge a comfort zone. And it could be something so small as just making a short video, but then people beat themselves up by saying, oh, why can't I do this? Why am I holding myself back? When in reality, it is not the size of the action, it's what it represents. And it represents you allowing to firstly see yourself in a camera. And the toughest thing that people have a tough time with is actually looking at themselves in the mirror, staring themselves dead in the eye, and being able to hold that space and to look at yourself and see yourself as you are without anything else getting in the way. That in itself is the scariest thing for a lot of people. And then
it is.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say it is. And watching yourself, I hear a lot of people say, and I do it myself, absolutely detest watching myself back on video. So I refuse to do it. I just get on, do these things live and be done with it. I'll never watch them back again because I just don't feel I need to go there. I don't really want to be staring at myself and watching myself. That's me. And that's how I continue to move forward, by not having to sit and analyze myself. Do you know what I mean? So I'll avoid doing that and just keep plodding forward. I don't know if that's the right thing to do in general, but that's what works for me. But you are so right. A lot of people don't. Another one I hear too is they don't like the sound of their voice when they hear themselves back as well. I don't really have a problem with my voice at all, but I hear a lot of people say that one. Just if anyone's watching, feel free to, for those of you that are watching, we do have Devesh here, and he's very, very much about moving you forward with your business and allowing yourself to see more than just what's holding yourself back. You're not into that. You're more like, what can we do? Let's move forward and let's see the greater you. So he is here today. He's open for any questions. If you have any, you can throw some at him. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep bugging him.
Go nuts. I don't think you can bug me if you tried,
With my my almond milk hot chocolate.
La di da.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So yeah, I think you're on the mark there. We don't really like seeing into ourselves and looking at ourselves, do we?
No. And it was interesting how you mentioned that you don't like looking back at your own videos. I just wanted to comment.
Hate it. Hate it.
Well, it's interesting.
Doesn't stop me from doing them, but I just don't like looking back at them. I just get out there and do them, but I don't really want to sit there and watch myself. Happy to watch you over and over again, though, Devesh.
That's it. Well, I'm happy to watch myself over and over too. But in saying that, that might sound a bit arrogant, but here's the interesting thing. I never used to be able to do it because I believe, every single thing that we do or we don't do is a representation of how we show up in every other area of our life. So a representation of me not being able to look myself in the mirror and hold that space for myself is a representation of how I may feel the need to escape from things when really I need to be able to be present with my emotions, because life will always hit me with something that I can't control. And even though I can't control it, I can control how I feel about it. But in that moment, that comes down to my ability to be present with myself in that moment. So when it comes to, looking at ourselves back in the mirror and being able to just put ourselves on video, because it's a representation of, we all want to be seen and heard. But the number one scariest thing is allowing ourselves to be seen and heard by ourselves, to see
True.
all of that we are, with the limitations, with the good and the bad, and to actually acknowledge that we have our weaknesses. There's things that we're not strong at, and there's a standard that we hold within ourselves that we're not meeting. But then it's about acknowledging, great, that's something I'm going to work on. But at the same time, I'm going to acknowledge what I'm strong at, and I'm going to own that. And that person that's looking back at me, I never used to be able to watch those videos. And as a result, he used to speak really, really fast. I mean, I speak really fast now, but back then it was like, blah, 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 it's just crazy.
No, you've slowed down a lot. You've slowed down a lot since I first met you. So, yes, nice and slow so we can hear you now. It's doing good.
Yeah. And it really was a person that speaks too fast is just a person that's not used to being seen and heard. And they feel, and I felt that I needed to let it all out, because my time, that I wasn't worthy of taking all this person's time. So I had to speak really fast. I had to let it all out, or I had to speak softer, just because there was a self-worth issue that I was holding myself back in. And being able to watch myself back, it was uncomfortable. But as I sat there, I changed the association that I had with myself, because when I looked at myself, I didn't feel good. And that showed up when I thought about doing the things that I wanted to do, that pushed me, that allowed me to push my own boundaries. I didn't feel good about those things. And even though I had all the strategies and everything else, the fact that I couldn't even look back at myself was a representation of what I wasn't looking at myself in other areas as well. It's these little things that make such a big difference. The biggest thing is that, for example, the money issue. Look, let's speak about the money issue. Let's speak about, it's something that people speak about a lot, which is, charging your worth. Well,
charging your worth, having a six-figure business, all that stuff that goes round and round in our traps and in our circles. And I personally believe people can get really trapped into a lot of anxiety around that.
And it's this connotation, isn't it? It's the fact that, hey, for me to charge my worth, everyone's into like, yeah, I'm going to charge high ticket, and I'm going to make a, $40,000 extra income in the next, 23 seconds, and and all the rest of it. We've seen it all. But look, let's just get real. If you are, used to earning $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, whatever it is, if somebody tells you, yes, you might buy a program, and you might, have a system that'll, allow you to charge $1,000 a pop and make 20 grand a month. But the reality is if you're not used to it, then your system's going to be in shock. And even if you succeed, what's going to happen is you're going to self-sabotage yourself, because you don't believe that that's the place where you're meant to be. So when it comes to charging our worth, it's not how much should I be charging based on what everybody else is charging. It does not matter what anybody else is charging. All that matters is, what am I really good at helping somebody with? There's someone out there that's in pain, and what's it costing them? What's the real? I know what the cost is of working with me, but what is the cost of not having what I have to offer? And at the end of the day, our value is not defined by the qualification that you have. I've got like 6 different coaching qualifications that, amongst all the other stuff that I've done, but I never list any of them. Why? Because none of them define me or who I am. As soon as I then list my qualification and I call myself, an NLP coach, or, all these modalities, you can name yourself anything. I turn myself into a commodity, and people will put you in a bucket. Oh, right, you're an XYZ coach. You're this person. Well, the reality is that I let my message, how can all of who I am be captured in one small title? People get so focused on, what's my perfect title? What's that perfect niche? Well, how about if you let your message and your presence and everything else define what you do, and then you own the value that you bring to somebody else, and you charge based on everything that you've been through. Every single time you've fallen down in life and you've gotten back up. Every single time somebody told you and made you feel that you can't do something, but you got up and you did it anyway. Every single time you looked at yourself in the mirror and you didn't feel good enough, but you did it anyway. All the thousands of hours, your time, everything, your trust that you've invested in your self-growth, that is what you're charging for. And the truth is that if you give your best, then you deserve the best. And you don't ask yourself, am I worthy of charging, $2, $3, $4, $500,000, $10,000 a week, whatever it is? You don't ask, am I worthy of this goal? You ask yourself, all of who I am, everything that I've been through, am I going to allow this goal to be worthy of all of me? Am I going to allow this price? Am I going to let $500 define and cap who I am in all my glory, in all the magnitude of my immense capability, am I going to let $200 define and control and limit who I am? Is $200 worthy of doing that to me? And the answer is no, because I'm limitless.
Yeah. and I truly believe we are all limitless. That's one of my beliefs. And we'll take ourselves as far as we decide we want to go. I want to ask you a question. If anyone is listening, for those of you that are listening live, and if you are listening in replay, if you have any questions, just pop them in the comments there, and we will see them. If you're not listening live, Devesh will always come back and see them afterwards. Sometimes we get comments afterwards that you can come back and answer as well. Hi, Marius.
Hey, Marius.
How you doing? What are you doing today, Marius? While we're here on this beautiful, what day is it? Wednesday morning here in Sydney. Where are you, Marius? Remember, while Marius is telling us where he is, I want to ask you a question, Devesh. I'm wondering, what do you feel is the difference between the Tony Robbins and the other big names out there? So the Anthony Robbins, all the rest of the big name coaches out there who seem to just have it all going on, and then someone who is struggling with getting their coaching business up and going. What do you think the main difference is in the way that they think? With what's going on in their head? Do you think there's a big difference between, those that have reached the pinnacle and those that are starting out and working their way up? And of course, some do work their way up to the pinnacle. Let's face it, many don't.
Well, it's an interesting question, and whilst there's a lot of things, I think there's a couple of principles that are overarching that really, and that's a great question, by the way. I think that really makes the difference is really two things. And number one, everybody seems to have a story. Yes, we've heard that everybody seems to have a story, but here's why. It's because every single person out there that is doing something that is really a visionary. I'm not talking about somebody who's just in business, somebody who actually has a vision, someone who's a real visionary that stands for something greater. Every single person that speaks the message that they themselves need to hear the most. And something that used to come up in their life that used to defeat them, and it doesn't any longer, or it still can if they don't get checked. So, for example, Tony Robbins speaks about ending suffering. Why? Because that's what he went through in his life.
And as Marius said, if you can just listen to what Marius said, he's also the loudest.
He's definitely the loudest. He's definitely a big dude. He's loud in his presence.
Yeah, good one, Marius.
I like to see you've got the little faces in the comments popping up.
Yeah, I get to pop them up on the screen so everyone can see them come through on the video. It's really cool, isn't it?
Beautiful. I love this little Be Live thing. But to answer your question, it's very much they stand for something because they went through something.
Yeah, they stand for something. Yeah.
They stand for something.
Yeah. And I think that is just one of the things that I always say with my new developing coaches. If you want to build an audience, build a tribe, build a following, you can't be a fence sitter. You have to stand for something, because that will attract your audience and it will also repel part of your audience. If we look at Tony Robbins, I know people who can't stand him. He's repellent to some people. But when you think about the people who love and adore him because of what he stands for. So it's very much about not caring about who you're repelling, but focusing more on who your message and your story is a deep connection to.
Absolutely. The beautiful thing about that is that we get so hung up on the surface that, and of course, Tony Robbins speaks to a wider audience. And I really see Tony as the catalyst for change. I see Tony, the way he set his model up and everything else, he's a catalyst for change. So, he has the Unleash the Power Within. He has those big events. He has a lot of products which reach a lot of people. And he's really the catalyst that shakes you up and shows you that there's something possible. And that really shakes you awake. And I really feel that for you to have that consistency, you then have to, have someone that walk alongside you and keeps you consistent and keeps you accountable and, is in your corner the whole way through. But Tony's really good at that. He knows that lasting change comes if you can't change someone's life in an hour or a week. And of course, you can have a significant impact on someone's perspective. But really, it's the ongoing process of working with somebody else. And Tony, the way he set it up, is to wake up and shake up the masses. And that's worked really well. So he stood for something. He wanted to end suffering. At the same time, the second thing is that he doesn't focus and fixate on his weaknesses. All the people that are out there doing it at that level, they're doing more of what they love, and none of what they hate, basically. And the people that you admire the most, they're not the most balanced at everything. You don't admire someone because they're balanced at everything. You admire them because they're outstanding at something, and they amplify their outstanding.
So what do you suggest for those of us out there who are aware of our strengths and aware of our weaknesses, and we're trying to do it all? What's your suggestion? Like you said, people like Tony, they focus on their strengths and not their weaknesses. What should we be doing with our weaknesses? The ones that we're aware of course.
So I'm a big fan of just getting super clear on stuff. We make things complicated. It doesn't have to be complex. So I would firstly break down exactly, for you to succeed in your business, let's just get really practical. You have certain elements that, you must do all the activities that you do, and all the things that, make an impact in your business. So whether it's, putting yourself out there and speaking, doing the marketing, doing all of that stuff, and you make a list of everything that you have to do, and then actually just find and tick off, where's my 500, where's my $1,000 an hour skill? What is it that I'm really strong at? So if I excel at making content, but I suck at, putting together the spreadsheets, keeping all the database, and I have to do it and it takes me hours and I keep putting it off. And as a result, I don't get other stuff done and I'm wasting like 35 hours a week. Well, why would I do those things myself? We feel that we have to do all of these things ourselves, but it's really asking yourself, where is my strength? Where is my outstanding? And how can I double down on my outstanding and amplify what I'm strong at? And if you can just do that.
It's true.
And it really is. It's, I know it sounds simple, but I literally sat down with a client of mine and we wrote down what are their business processes, what do you enjoy doing? And she wrote down that she works with, she was a health coach. She was working with 7 people, 7 clients. She was speaking with people an hour or about an hour and a half a week. She goes out and shopping with them for their food. And then she spends about 35 hours a week every single day looking at their food logs and going through and writing the micronutrients, the macronutrients, and giving them full reports. And we figured out what is they actually enjoy doing, and she hated doing that element, but it takes 35 hours a week. But in our mind, we believe that for us to be successful, we have guilt. This is what I'm talking about. When we don't feel good enough, we find ways to say, I have to work hard for me to be worthy of this. I have to work hard because my parents worked hard. This is my parents' relationship with money, and I have to work hard. So we create things for ourselves and we deliberately to take up our time. Firstly, one, so we can have success, and we believe that we're not worthy of it. So we create even less time for ourselves to enjoy more of what we love. This is how people literally dawdle. And we literally said 35 hours a week. How can you cut this down? And now she's actually saving 35 hours a week because we've simply come up with something that she can do. But this is the stuff, like we overlook this because we think it's so simple, but this is what makes the biggest difference. Just start with identifying where is your outstanding. How can you amplify your outstanding? Because if you're doing that, and then you're creating, I know it's cliche, create a life you love, but seriously, what are your top values? If you enjoy freedom, if you enjoy adventure, you don't have to wait 6 to 12 months for you to take a big holiday somewhere. Why don't you just have every fortnight, take an hour's drive out of the city and have a representation of adventure? Go somewhere you haven't gone. And we start doing things like that. You then start incorporating more of what you love in your work, creating content, speaking to people, whatever it is that you enjoy. And then you're also creating time for other things that you actually enjoy in your personal life. So now your work becomes a vehicle for creating a life that you enjoy, both inside what you're actually doing professionally and also what you're doing at a personal level. And as a result, your cup is more full. You want other people to feel good like you do. You start focusing on what's important. Your tunnel vision goes away. Everything starts opening up, but it starts from that simple process of just asking yourself, what do I enjoy doing and what am I outstanding at and how can I amplify more of that and play to my strengths?
I totally agree with you. I think too many coaches and change makers out there are trying to do everything in the early days in their business. And one of the things that I get very much into is outsourcing the stuff that you're crap at. Why bother? You know, and like you say, focus on what you're really good at, and because that's your talent, put your area into that. I mean, there's certain things, you know, just like you, I have certain areas that I'm absolutely shocking at, and so I won't bother to do it. I just palm it off to someone else who actually likes doing it, and I do the stuff that I'm good at. And it makes my work week far more enjoyable, and also frees up more time for me to get outside. And as you know, Devesh, I'm very much a country girl and very much outside with my animals. And I always want to work on freeing up as much time as possible so that I'm actually outside and enjoying them. So I don't want to be stuck inside doing stuff that I suck at. I want to be doing everything that I love and enjoy. If any, for those of you that are listening, we have Devesh Kumar on today, who's taken time out from his busy wedding celebrations. Not his wedding, by the way. It is your brother's wedding, isn't it, Devesh?
It is. It is.
So that's all happening. I believe you've got hundreds of people in the house there. Devesh helps entrepreneurs and visionary change makers in igniting their deepest passion and creating a thriving and profitable presence out of it. So in other words, you know, creating a business and lifestyle that you love and also brings you great income as well.
I just wanted to add, you know, I know a lot of people are thinking, who's this Devesh guy? Well, you know, at the end of the day, look, just
quite a few people know who you are.
I see. Just there you go. Well, some people will know who I am. Other people are like, who's this Devesh blog? You know, the reality is, you know, the biggest thing that holds us back is ourselves. You know, we allow ourselves to get in our own way. And you know, if you have any questions, I mean, I know that you're probably thinking in the business context, but think about what holds you back. I mean, I myself 3 years ago couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. You know, I used to have extremely low self-worth. I couldn't even look myself in the mirror, let alone be live on video. I didn't used to put photos up of myself. And I hit my breaking point. You know, I mean, 10 years in corporate, hiding all the time. I hit my breaking point because I knew that I was better than that, and I knew that I deserved better. And I knew that I was born out of love, and I was born to give love. And if I can just love that to go after what I really want without capping myself, that everything's possible. And I know that there's people there in pain, and I'll get sick of watching people suffer, because when I finally embraced my pain, I realized just what I'm capable of. I saw the pain that everybody else carried around with them and just what it did to them. You know, and I've had the opportunity now of working with 8-figure earners, with an 8-figure earner taking them onto 9 figures, all the way down to single mothers that have been struggling with, you know, divorces and everything else. And, you know, the relationship's gotten back on track. People sit on multi-million property in portfolios, but their relationship is suffering. You know, they have depression. And all of that has such a big impact, and I've helped with all those things. So if you are struggling with anything of holding yourself back, if there's, you know, if you're just focused on being in survival mode instead of really thriving, yes, I know you can have the strategies, the tools. Those things will always be there, and they'll always change. But I'm not here to give you information as to what you can do step by step to, you know, create a business plan, because you know that stuff. Well, what I'm here to do is actually give you insight as to why you don't do the stuff that you already know repeatedly. And that is the biggest thing that holds us back, because without addressing that, you can focus on a crutch that will get you over the line. But when it comes time to take that step again, you'll have the same problem over and over again. And this is where people struggle and they don't break through, because they say, go on.
No, I was just thinking, you know, I remember, you know, you have worked with multimillionaires who look on the outset like they've got everything happening for them. You know, they're making money and it all looks good and rosy. And yet they've been doing, you know, they've been holding themselves back or suffering in some way, and you've got in there and helped them with that suffering. And these are big ticket earners. So it's not just someone who may be struggling financially with their business. It doesn't matter where you are on this, you know, level with your business. Something else might be going on the inside. That's
it. Something else is always going on in the inside. It's the magic of human potential.
So what do you reckon is the, you give me your best tip for someone who is starting out. So they have a big vision for their work in the world. So whether they're doing coaching or whether they're doing some other form of work, but they have a big vision, what do you think is the best tip for them?
So the best tip for them, as in once they've already taken the leap and they've already started working in their business, or if they're thinking about just taking the leap and they haven't quite taken that step.
Let's go for those that are thinking about it. So I know there's people out there that may be in similar situations to what you were, because you were in corporate and unhappy in that environment. You weren't doing the work that you really wanted to do, which was out there changing lives. You weren't doing that in corporate. What did you actually do, to take that step from corporate into, wow, now, I know a lot of your clients. I know the work that you do, and I know the results that you get. So how did you make that leap from blah to now?
Sure. I think the biggest thing, and we're all unique, but I really think that the biggest thing that changed the way I did everything is the mind that I entered the arena with. Here's the thing. For far too long in my life, for 29 years, I'm 32 now, for 29 years of my life, I just made it so much about the external shell. And I'm literally just talking about, just so much of wearing the mask and allowing myself to be defined so much by the way people wanted me to be, that even when it came time to want to do coaching, it was very much so focused on the external. But then I didn't want to just take a little baby step. I wanted to really just break out of these shackles, these chains that held me back. So you have to ask yourself, what are you not willing to put up with, and what is the real consequence of you hiding? Allowing yourself very first, of actually having a vision. You mentioned having a vision. Well, I'm going to challenge that for most people. Do they actually have a vision? Because unless you can see it and it is so real down to every single little detail of what your life looks like, how you wake up in the morning, how you feel, what is it that you're willing to die for? And then wanting to live for it. When you have that level of clarity, what you're not willing to settle for, what it is that you're better than. I know it sounds all cliche, you've heard this is not motivation, this is real, this is what it took. And I got sick of it. I got sick of hiding. I got sick of looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself what a loser I was at one point, and how unworthy and deserving I was of things that I wanted. Yes, I used to suppress myself. I used to tell myself, dude, you're kidding yourself.
I'm sorry for jumping in, but I find that so sad that you would be looking in the mirror and saying that stuff to yourself. So I just find, wow, that's so sad that you would be saying that, because I've never really done that. I've never looked in the mirror and gone, loser.
I used to do it. I used to do it, but I love it. I'm happy.
Yeah, wow, it's such a shift.
It's, the worst day of your life is really just your best in disguise. I believe that. I thank every single person that made me feel small. I thank them all, and I mean it, because I am who I am because of that, and I went through it for a reason. So if you're sitting on that fence, is firstly acknowledge, is that there is something beyond it, and actually get super clear on what that looks like, and then you've got to create leverage. So I'll tell you what allowed me to shift. On the 15th, I remember this date, on the 15th of October 2014, I went to, it was a small room seminar. I was a guy by the name of John Ashraf.
Yeah. I think most people would be aware of his name.
And, and back then, he wasn't really that popular. And I knew of him because, I'm massively into neuroscience and, quantum physics and all the rest of it. And I spent probably tens of thousands of hours looking at the mechanics of it. And he was a guy that, was really taking it and applying it practically into business. And a lot of things, I was speaking to people about, they were like, oh, you got that from John Ashraf. I'm like, who's this John Ashraf guy? And they kept talking about how I kept speaking about the same things. And I'm like, let me check this guy out. So I went to this live event in a small room of about 200 people in Sydney. And the first thing, that he got us to do was he asked us to pull out a piece of paper. And he said, I want you all to pull out a piece of paper, and I want you to write down that in exactly 12 months from now, on this date, I am going to 3 to 5 times my income. Otherwise, I'll never see the person that I love the most ever again.
Wow.
And everyone wrote it down. And of course, I didn't want to pick, so I just, I just said, I'll never see my dad again if I don't achieve this. And on the 15th of October 2015, I'm going to 3 to 5 times my income. I thought, I'll never see my dad again. And he goes, now, who here is going to do whatever it takes if that is the stipulation? And everybody put their hand up. He's like, the reality is some of you will do it. And he's like, most of you won't do it.
That's what I was going to. That's what I was going to say. Do you know how many people in that room actually did do it?
Yes.
You probably don't, but you actually do. Tell us.
So I will come back to this point because it's a great point.
Okay.
This is actually a great point. So I will come back to this. He said, now there's one thing that will define if you do it or if you don't. If you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. But if you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes.
You'll do whatever it takes. Yeah.
So you're either interested or you're committed. And if you're interested, you'll just do what's convenient. But if you're committed, you'll do whatever it takes. And that always stuck with me. And I went home, I stuck that note on my wall. And I used everything that I knew about, it's not just spiritual woo-woo, but I mean, it's not philosophy, it's science. Quantum physics actually defines how every single, anyway, I won't go into the whole thing, but it's real. We create our own reality, but of course it's a combination of the metaphysical and the physical. It's a combination of both those things. So long story short, 12 months down the track, I had, 4 odd coaching qualifications. I'd spent about $45,000 in my personal growth programs, learning about everything from business to mindset to everything else in my own time, but I hadn't taken the leap. I can make all the plans that I want. I can meditate all that I wanted, but unless I actually went out there was no substitute for the experience. So with 2 months left to go to that date, I walked in one day and I said, screw this, I'm leaving my job. I resigned on that day because I knew that I had everything. There's nothing more that I needed. And I resigned. Now, by the way, I want to just let you know that don't just resign if you have nothing to fall back on. I had 2 years of putting out content. By that point, I'd been putting out content for 2 years without charging for it. So I had the foundation that was set. I need to just take the leap. So make sure you have something there. Anyway, I left. And within 2 months, on the day that I said it would happen, I got exactly down to the dollar. I get goosebumps every time I talk about this. I got down to the dollar what I said I would make in my bank account for that week. And that in itself, it wasn't about the money. It was the fact that, hey, a guy that believed he was worthless, that he couldn't do something, a guy that believed that he was doomed to just, scrape by, could actually do something that could become an example for so many other people that were in pain. The thing that kept driving me was the feeling of telling that story, that I'm going to hit it on that goal. Imagine on that date, I hit that goal. Imagine someone like me could actually do that and be an example for somebody else that can inspire change in somebody else. Wow, how exciting is that? I get to inspire somebody. That in itself was exhilarating. Somebody who's kept those hidden for so long could inspire somebody. And that's what kept me going. And that actually happened because I believed in it and I made it so real.
So yes, and
you
did what it took.
I did what it took.
Rather than being interested in doing what was convenient.
Yes.
I've got an interesting story about that as well. But first up, can we go back to how many in that room actually committed compared to just were interested and did what was convenient?
Yes. So this is where I am going to kind of dispel, and I want to be a little bit controversial, even though I believe that, yes, anybody can do anything. Well, I'm going to just tell it like it is, and I'm going to say that even though everybody can do something, statistically only 1% of people will do it, and that's 1%. Reality.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people not getting to that commitment level. So is that about what it was in that room?
Well, I don't know what exactly happened 12 months down the track, but the way I said I knew is because, look, time and time again, and I was going to make a post about this later, but statistically, T. Harv Eker, the money mindset guy, he got up in a room of, I think it was like, 3,000 people, and he said, look, I'm teaching you all this stuff, but only 1% of you, only 1 out of 100 of you are actually going to go out there and do it. And despite me telling you this, only 1 out of 100 of you are going to do it. He's like, I know that. He's like, that's a given. Time and time again, who's I can't remember what this guy's name. anyway, he's this big marketing guy, and he says that the biggest thing that he realized, the biggest turning point in him was when he realized no matter how many people he reached, he could never speak to more than 1% of the market at a time. That really got him, because it's 1% of the market. Statistically, they've done a study. Harvard's done a study time and time again. They've gotten 100 people at the age of 25, and they've asked them, how many of you believe that you'll be successful? And all 100 of these people at the age of 25 have said, yes, I'm going to be successful. But when they tracked those people at the age of 65, only 1 out of 100 was financially independent, like completely, totally free, right? 5 were financially independent. I don't know if I flipped that the wrong way around. That were, able to afford everything that they needed. 35 were dead, and 55 were broke, and 5 of them had to keep working past retirement. Statistically, so think about it. It is literally that 1%. So time and time again. But the reality is that this is the truth, because we live in a society.
Yeah, we live in a society. Follow up, because then I've got something to jump in there with. Because talking about this, we live in a society that what were you going to finish off with this?
We live in a society that thrives precisely because it trains people to do what they should do versus what they could do. So even though everybody can do it, only 1% statistically actually do it.
Yeah, and I believe that's really, really true. It's really interesting, Devesh. As you know, I did my coaching with one of Australia's biggest coaching training facilities. I did my coach training with them about 6-7 years ago now. And in my particular intake, there were 32 new coaches going through on that particular weekend. So we get together. And I can tell you right now that out of those 32, 7 years later, or 6 years, I can't remember what it is, 2 of us are actively working and making money as coaches. The rest are either still dawdling in the background with it, and trying, but not actually doing too much with their skills that they've learned, or many have abandoned it completely and gone back to their old work that they were trying to escape. Why? I always question that. Why? What's the difference between me and that other guy who have been able to make businesses? And I can tell you one thing that I'm aware of from both me and the other guy. So I don't, just interestingly enough, both me and that other guy, we were so fully committed because I didn't have anything else I wanted to fall back on. I had split with my husband. I had lost my big company. I had no income coming through. And then, I had property, horses, little daughter to support, but there was no way I was going to go into town and do the 9 to 5 grind. So for me, I had to do everything that it took and make it happen. That was the way I looked at it. I just had to make it happen. I was fully committed to making it happen because my freedom, my lifestyle, and my vision depended on it. So my vision wasn't about so much my coaching vision, but more the freedom and the lifestyle I wanted to continue to have. And I know for the other guy, he was in very much the same boat. He had left his work and just decided to take the giant leap. He had nothing to fall back on. And he made it work too. I won't say that the first few years for both of us wasn't a goddamn struggle, because it was, but we made it happen. The rest of everyone, as I said, they're not actively working as coaches, and the percentage rate for many of the new coach trainees, those that actually build it into a business that will sustain them and give them the freedom and lifestyle, is actually relatively low, because I think you're going back to what you said. It's only that 1%.
That's it.
Which is low. It's very sad. And we want to change that, don't we? How do we change that? How do we change that? That's the question, because that's what bugs me. I look back at it. That's why I do what I do with my coaches. So you are not sitting there in coach training and then coming out of it and going, what the hell do I do? I want to change that. What do we do?
I really think that the future lies, and this is where I always say to people that, I don't want 1,000 followers. I just want 10. I want to create 10 leaders that can each inspire 10 other leaders that they can then create 1,000 leaders. I don't give a shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but If people know who I am at the end of the day, all I care about is that I make an impact on those 10 people at the deepest level, so then they can go out and lead powerfully with a powerful presence, with a powerful message, completely owning exactly what it is that they're here to do and what they're here to deliver, and what the world is in pain, crying for that person's soul's purpose, so they can stand up for it, they can speak up for it, they can own exactly all of who they are. So the truth is that if you want to make a change, this whole significance thing. I mean, cool, there's nothing wrong with being on the big, huge stages, but the reality is that the people that you really impact is focused on the depth. So the way we're going to do it is realizing that we can't, as much as I want all 100 people to follow through, the truth is that they won't. So how can I find and how can I work with those 10 people that I can really work with, that will allow me and that are ready to allow me into their journey? Because we are not in the convincing game. The biggest mistake is playing the convincing game. You can never convince anybody. People are ready. There's someone out there that's ready for you, that's ready to receive you, that's ready to walk that path. And your job is to speak the message to the core of that one person, so they can say, yes, let's do this. So they can then become a stronger leader, and over time they can inspire 10 other people. That is the best chance that we have of owning and speaking from our truth to somebody else's truth, and focus on that small segment so they can focus on the small segment. So it's about depth of impact. It's not just about speaking to the masses. If you want to make deep, powerful transformation, then you must work with a handful of people. This is where I believe is really the future of transformation, is deep work with individuals.
So, final question before we end off. It's almost midday, and we did allow ourselves an hour for this chat. If anyone wants to jump in before we end off, please even just say hi to us, or ask Devesh any questions at all that you might have around this. I believe that the genius is within all of us. That's why I love when you talk about unleashing the genius within us. What do we do if we feel that we're not being, that we feel stuck, that our genius is stuck inside of us, that we can't come up with creative ideas, that we can't come up with content or any of those other things? Our genius seems stuck. How do we move that? How do we let our core genius come out, shine, and truly move it to a space where we then are free to thrive, both personally and professionally?
Beautiful. Well, the simple answer, I like to say simple answer, is really realizing that the person that you can help the most is the person that's 2 steps behind you, is really the person that is really suffering and struggling, that has no idea how to get through it, and they're stuck, they're struggling. And to unleash your genius, just ask yourself, what is it that you have gone through, that if you can go back to yourself 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you can help yourself with 3 things, what would those things be? What is this something that you can really help somebody with? Because I can guarantee if you struggle with it, it might be, for example, getting out of your own way and not letting fear dictate, where you go in life, is actually allowing yourself to be profitable and give yourself the chance to make the type of money that you deserve. Number 3 could be, for you to, be an example of what's possible. Hey, Daniel, good to hear from you. So it's very much, it's Daniel's a good friend of mine, by the way. So he's looking sharp in his suit as always. He's a man that and he's doing a big workshop in the UK now and creating a whole bunch of leaders. He's an awesome guy. Check him out. So it's yeah, you guys should definitely connect. You should actually, you might even have benefit from having one here. Anyway, that's a conversation from another point.
Yeah. So, put us both on the spot, Devesh.
Put us both on the spot. I think out loud. Sorry, I do this. Foot and mouth syndrome. So look, I really think that the best thing to do is actually ask yourself, where can if I can go back to myself 3 years ago, then what is it that I could really help myself with? And just know, if you can clearly define exactly what you struggle with, that you overcame, well, what that does is it gives you confidence. Because I've overcome it, if I see somebody else in pain, can I help that person with the same thing? Yes, I can. You don't have to then ask yourself what I should do or what I should do that the market wants. You ask yourself, hey, I overcame this, and I know I can damn well resonate with somebody else that's going through the same thing. Start with that. Then ask yourself, what's my mission? Well, my mission is to allow people to stand up for who they really are and amplify the best parts of themselves, to have the certainty and the confidence to, have the profitable presence that they and, have a type of lifestyle that they deserve. Well, great. If that's my mission, then who's the person that I want to work with? Well, I want to work with someone who's ambitious. I want to work with someone, because an entrepreneur is just an ambitious person with big visions and a little bit more balls to take a step forward, right? That's what an entrepreneur is.
I think you're on the mark there with a little bit more balls to
a little bit more balls. That's
Yeah, and I was talking really interestingly enough with Bronwyn Boyle, who is an archetypes expert. I don't know if you've met Bronwyn yet, but she is archetypes expert, and she was talking about the entrepreneur archetype, and she was actually saying that many people think they have the archetype, think they're an entrepreneur, or wish, thinking they're going to step into the entrepreneur. But she said very few people actually truly have the archetype entrepreneur. I mean, the entrepreneur archetype. I'm getting tongue-tied there. So, it's a certain, I think it takes a certain state to claim that space and really, really say, I've got the balls, as you put it, to do what I have to do, to create my own business, to create my own freedom, create my own lifestyle.
And, on that point,
you're getting lots of love from Daniel today.
That's it. Well, yeah, I'm glad someone's stepping up and just showing me some love. It's I'm loving it.
We've had a quiet morning, but that's okay. I don't know where everyone is. They've all been sleeping, but they'll watch the replay. We'll be right.
I won't take it personally. I won't take it too personally. All about the balls, my man. That's it. And just from that last point that you mentioned, the entrepreneur. Look, the truth is that if I had to put myself in a bucket, I'm a creative. I am really the artist. I'm the creative. And yes, I can push myself and I can do all the things that I have done, but they haven't come to me easily. It's as creatives, we let our creativity come between our creation, and we overthink things. And that's what I am, and I own that, and there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to double down on my ability to create, and I'm going to,
I don't own the archetype, the entrepreneur archetype either. Like if someone was to say to you, you're an entrepreneur, I go, no, I'm not. I don't have that in me at all. I'm more other things. There's no doubt about that, but certainly not the entrepreneur. But I do know what I need to do, and for the most part, I do it. For the most part, not always.
That's it. Well, most part, that's exactly.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part, because no one wants to be right 100% of the time, right? You don't need to.
That's right. Who wants perfection? Perfection is boring anyway. One of the things about building an audience, and this is a little bit aside from what you're talking to, but just from my area of expertise, one of the things about building an audience and a following is not to be too damn perfect, because nobody can connect with perfection. That you just can't connect with it. So it's about, owning up, but still moving forward at all times.
That's it. You always connect with someone who's. I was just going to say that you always connect with a person that's two steps ahead of you, because that person that's 20 steps ahead, that's like 10 years out into the future, is too much for you. But I've had people that have worked with me that said, hey man, you're 2 steps ahead of where I am, and I want that, because they know that I can walk alongside with them, I can sympathize with them, and I can help them. And that's it's always the best.
And one of the things that I teach in the Spotlight program is when we do the connecting with influencers module, and people get a bit scared about that idea of connecting with influencers, because they're thinking, I have to connect with influencers who are like thousands of steps ahead of me. I go, no, that's not where you want to be. You want to step with the people who are a few steps ahead of you. That's where you want to continue to be raising your bar each time, by connecting with those that are a few steps ahead of you, and then raising with them along the way. And that's how you climb, and grow and get up to those much higher levels, where one day you will be thousands of steps ahead of someone else.
Well, this is why they call you the private boost specialist,
Yeah. And like you, I'm not I don't really have the entrepreneur mindset. As I said, I do have some brilliance elsewhere, but I don't claim to have brilliance everywhere. And one of those areas, as we were talking about earlier on, when you were talking about spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff, I'm the same. It's like, go away, go away. Spreadsheet
Yes,
systems.
yes. This is after I've been in accounting for 6 years. I just, spreadsheets, macros, pivot tables, please just take it away from me. And I have a $3.50 an hour VA from the Philippines that does all of that for me. Saves me 15 hours a week.
All right, well, we better skedaddle because it's after 12. Now, where can people connect with you, Devesh? You've given us wonderful information, and so if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best places? I know you have a Facebook group, you have a Facebook page.
Sure.
Where can I find you?
I've got a private group called the Academy of Genies, and I think it's facebook.com/whatever. I mean, I'll put the URL in here. I think you might add it.
Yeah, give it to me and I'll put it up. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
And I've also because I like stirring the pot and doing things a little bit differently. All my content is literally on my personal page. So I've got a lot of content on my personal page, my personal profile. So just add me as a friend if you want. I'll add you. It's totally cool. And you can join that private group, and I add exclusive content in that private group as well. And I did have a little hiccup with my landing page, but you can go to deveshkumar.co. And once I get my Aweber up and working again, that should be there'll be something on there now, but they'll be updated, so you can always go to that as well.
Yeah. So there you go. You can connect with Devesh D's, his group. I will have that link up there for you, his Facebook page and also his website as well, which we'll stick that up as soon as it's working. We'll stick it up beforehand. If it's not working, it's too bad.
So, too bad, exactly. It's right.
Who needs to be perfect? Nobody needs to be perfect. Thank you so much, Devesh. Thank you so much for your time. You go back and enjoy all your wonderful brothers' wedding celebrations with all your family and friends. Thank you so much for taking, this hour out on your special time there with your family and friends to spend with me and the people who have come along and joined in. Thanks so much.
Beautiful. Thanks very much. Have a brilliant day. See you, Vanessa.
See ya. Bye-bye. Okay.